Hey, it's me, MLB. Here is chapter 69 of Serendipity, and this one is titled A Terrifying Ride. You couldn't sleep that night. Your mind was going a million miles an hour, worrying about the future, wondering what motherhood would be like, planning everything in advance and living out imaginary situations. So by the time morning came around, you were smashed. Baby? Deku whispered in a husky voice as he rolled over and snuggled into you the next morning, kissing along your shoulder and up your neck, then smiling and sighing happily. You smiled sleepily and drifted back off to sleep as he slowly woke. A few times he tried to talk to you, but you were fading in and out of dreamland, so eventually he quietly got out of bed and made himself a decaf mocha and let you sleep. When you woke next, the afternoon sun was streaming in through the blinds, and you sat up straight in bed and stared at the soft yellow rays as they illuminated the carpet at the end of the bed. "You're awake," Deku said happily from the lounge. You looked at him. "Yeah," you said in a daze. He smiled and got up, walking over to the bed and crawling up on the end of it and into your open arms. You lay back with him half on top of you and sighed as you ran your hands through his curly locks, staring at the ceiling. "Sorry, I didn't sleep well last night, so I was tired today," he said softly. "Don't apologize," he said kindly. "Your body needs to rest too." You nodded, your mind immediately going back to pregnancy and babies. "Oh, Todoroki called. The weather is clearing on the island, so our flight is planned for tomorrow morning," Deku said happily. "One more whole week on a secluded island." Lots of fun," you giggled mischievously. But what about the baby?" Deku asked nervously, his clear, shining eyes looking up into yours. "You can still do it while pregnant," you replied. "I read about it once in a magazine you were featured in. I think it was called Hero Girlfriend magazine. You know, the typical teen, young adult mag." "You can?" he asked with surprise. You nodded. "Yeah, they had a doctor debunking myths." "Oh, well, that's a relief," Deku said with a relieved smile. You hugged him, giggling as you did so. The next morning you signed out of the plaza and said your goodbyes to the manager and staff before hopping into a limousine provided by Todoroki and then made your way to the airport. You and Deku were taken around the back end of the runway, allowed onto a private plane, ready to head to the island. "Now," the captain said, back to you and Deku as you sat down in the seat behind him. "The island I'm taking you to doesn't have a runway, so I'm going to drop you off at a larger island nearby, then you'll catch a boat to your island." "Okay," you said, settling into your seat. It was a much smaller plane, a propeller plane, and the pilot explained that these ones were much better for flying among islands because they were more agile and thus able to move easily in and out from some of the taller mountains that grew on the islands there. "It's a smaller collection of islands," he explained as he taxied the plane down the runway, threw the throttle forwards and took to the skies. The plane, being a lot smaller than the giant Airbus that you had arrived in New York on, banked hard to the left, and you gripped onto the armrests and braced with fright. "So we need to be able to dodge around them a little bit," the pilot said, continuing his sentence as he flicked some switches. You took a sharp breath in when he pushed the plane's nose down and dropped it a few meters, then levelled out and smiled back at you. "All smooth from here," he said. "Won't be long. It's about a half-hour flight." You looked at Deku, and he reached across and held your hand, giving you his beautiful, reassuring smile. That was the longest half-hour you'd ever experienced. The plane was flying so low, or so it seemed, to the water, that you thought you could see dolphins and sharks swimming around in there. And as you nervously checked out the window again, the pilot called your attention to himself. "Getting close now," he called casually. You looked past him, out the front window, and saw a small amount of islands dotting the horizon, some of them very flat, while others had tall mountains and dormant volcanoes on them. "Almost there?" you asked, praying that by asking it would magically shorten the flight. The pilot banked the plane hard to the right, and you inhaled, digging your fingertips into the back of Deku's hand, eyes glued on the view out the front window. "Gotta get around this one," the pilot said, obviously referring to the massive dormant volcano on the island ahead. You nodded, your throat going dry as he dipped the plane and tipped back to skirt around it. You looked out your window and stared wide-eyed at the cliffs as the plane scooted neatly around it. Poor Deku's hand was being crushed, as you still hadn't let go, and he winced as your nails dug in more. The pilot then revved up the engine and climbed a little higher, pulling the steering wheel back to make the plane turn skyward. Again you sucked a horrified breath in, and held it as he levelled out again. "Hang on, gets a little rough here," Pilot said, just managing to clear some dense forest below. All of a sudden the plane shuddered and shook, the roar of the engine making your ears hurt. "Just a bit of turbulence," the pilot called back to you. "Yin?" Deku asked, blood seeping from where your nails had pierced his skin. You were petrified as the pilot expertly dodged all kinds of Mother Nature's blockades, and eventually he evened out, and ahead on the ground was a very short runway on the side of a beach. "And down we go," he said, pushing the nose of the plane down and dropping from the sky at an alarming rate. It was such a fast descent that your stomach flipped and got lodged in your throat, and you let out a gasping scream, and so did Deku as you dragged his skin off the back of his hand. In just another few short minutes you had landed on one of the most picturesque island beaches you'd ever seen. Oh God, you panted. "My hand," Deku whimpered, waiting for you to let him go. You quickly let go of his hand and looked at its mangled form. And there ends chapter 69. Stay tuned for chapter 70 coming tomorrow.